Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. Pakistan announces that peace talks with Afghanistan have failed, ending hopes of a truce after deadly border clashes that left dozens dead. The violence erupted after Kabul blamed Islamabad for a series of explosions earlier this month. Romania's defence ministry says the United States plans to scale back some of its troops stationed in NATO's eastern flank, pausing the rotation of a brigade deployed across several European countries. China issues a sharp warning that it absolutely will not rule out using force to take Taiwan, toughening its rhetoric after its earlier promised peaceful rule if the island accepted Beijing's authority. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte appeals the International Criminal Court's decision to continue its probe into alleged crimes during his drug war, arguing that the court overstepped jurisdiction after Manila's 2019 withdrawal. And Saudi Arabia forecasts real GDP growth of 5.1% next year. This driven by the non-oil sector as Riyadh pushes ahead with plans to diversify its economy beyond oil revenues. First, let's talk about a storm that is making headlines. Hurricane Melissa has made landfall in Cuba. Before hitting Cuba, it weakened to a Category 3 storm from Category 5. Still, the US National Hurricane Center warns that Melissa is expected to remain a powerful hurricane when it moves across Cuba and the Bahamas and passes near Bermuda. More than 600,000 people have been evacuated in Cuba. The city of Santiago de Cuba experienced severe flooding before the hurricane's landfall. Before Cuba, Melissa left a trail of destruction across Jamaica on Tuesday. It is being touted as one of the most powerful storms ever recorded on the island. This monster hurricane, packing sustained winds of up to 185 miles per hour at its peak, tore across Jamaica for hours. In its path, the storm flattened homes, flooded entire districts, and plunged communities into darkness. Jamaica's Prime Minister declared the entire nation a disaster area, urging residents to stay indoors. Heavy rains and deadly landslides continued long after the storm's core had passed. Large swathes of the island remain without power, and communication networks have been severely disrupted, complicating rescue and assessment efforts. The St. Elizabeth district, often referred to as Jamaica's breadbasket, has suffered major agricultural losses.
Jamaica has gone through what I can call one of its worst periods. Our infrastructure has been severely compromised. St. Elizabeth is the breadbasket of the country, and that has taken a beating. The entire Jamaica has felt the brunt of Melissa.
Across Kingston and beyond, residents described scenes of devastation.
I'm really sorry for who it really touched, because they're my fellow Jamaicans and we are love, right? And you know our motto, Taminian people, we are one. So we're really sorry really who get damaged, but trust me, it's not no joke. It's not no joke.
I mean, I ain't never been through nothing like this before, so it's kind of scary trying to get back to my kids, but I guess we gotta wait it out and hope for the best.
The scale of destruction remains uncertain, but officials have already confirmed at least 7 deaths across the Caribbean, 3 in Jamaica, 3 in Haiti, and 1 in the Dominican Republic. Jamaica's climate change minister called the storm's impact catastrophic, citing severely damaged public infrastructure and flooded hospitals. Thousands of people have been displaced, and aid agencies are struggling to reach isolated communities. The United Nations announced plans to airlift 2,000 emergency relief kits from Barbados to Jamaica once conditions allow it, with additional assistance for Cuba and for Haiti. The Jamaican Red Cross said the storm's slow, grinding nature worsened the trauma, forcing people to endure hours of relentless winds and pounding rain. Scientists have warned that storms like Melissa are becoming more frequent and ferocious due to human-induced climate change. Melissa is the third Category 5 storm of the Atlantic hurricane season this year. We'll keep track on what unfolds in Cuba in the storm's aftermath. Let's now shift focus to North Korea. The country announced that it has test-fired cruise missiles off its western coast. The announcement came at a time when US President Donald Trump is on a visit to South Korea. North Korean state media reported the missile test just hours before Trump landed in the neighbouring country. It said that sea-to-surface missiles launched vertically from the Yellow Sea flew for more than 2 hours. Top North Korean military officials who oversaw the test lauded it as an important success aimed at developing the North's reported nuclear forces.
The test is aimed at assessing the reliability of different strategic offensive means and impressing their abilities upon the enemies. It is our responsible mission and duty to toughen the nuclear combat posture ceaselessly.
Pyongyang has been carrying out a series of missile tests to display its strengthening military might. Earlier this month, North Korea displayed its most advanced Hwasong-20 intercontinental ballistic missile during a military parade. The missile was put on display in the presence of North Korean leader Kim Jong Un. His presence during North Korea's war games is a usual norm in the country. Kim Jong Un has vowed to expand North Korea's defence arsenal, including nuclear-capable missiles. But he skipped the latest test. The latest North Korean weapon test was also confirmed by its neighbour, South Korea. The country's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the military detected the cruise missile in the sea west of North Korea on October the 28th.
President Trump said recently that he will communicate with North Korea regarding their possession of nuclear weapons. Similarly, regarding North Korea's missile test, North Korea now seems to be a nuclear power, and I think we should also strengthen our military capabilities accordingly.
Now it's believed that the missile test just hours before Trump's arrival in South Korea was to send a message.
I thought it was very Kim Jong Un-like. I think he's sending a kind of unspoken message.
Donald Trump is in the South Korean city of Gyeongju to attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or the APEC Forum. He also met with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung and reached a preliminary trade deal with the country. During these talks, Trump said, and I quote, "The Korean peninsula is officially at war," and that he would do what he could to straighten the situation. Trump also reiterated his desire to meet the North Korean leader, adding that the timing did not work out for one-on-one engagement. North Korea has not responded publicly to Trump's invitation, but Kim in the past has expressed openness to talks only if the US dropped its demand that Pyongyang give up its nuclear weapons. Trump and Kim last met in 2019, and the demilitarized zone that separates North and South Korea. Now, during his Asia trip, Trump has openly called for a meeting with Kim. But will the latest missile test derail the path to the potential effort to soften ties? That remains to be seen. Moving now to West Asia. Gaza's Civil Defense Agency and hospitals said on Wednesday that more than 100 people were killed in a series of Israeli airstrikes across the Palestinian territory. Meanwhile, Israel said the strikes targeted 30 senior commanders of the militant groups in Gaza and were carried out in response to what it called ceasefire violations by Hamas. The Israeli military said on Wednesday it had reinstated the Gaza ceasefire after carrying out a series of strikes on dozens of militant targets. The previous day, According to the Civil Defense Agency, Israeli strikes hit multiple areas across Gaza late on Tuesday and continued into early Wednesday. Local health authorities said dozens were killed, while rescue workers searched through debris to pull survivors from damaged buildings. Witnesses reported heavy bombardments in Gaza City and Khan Yunis.
We were reading the news about Netanyahu's threats and the attacks on Gaza. And then the attack happened right at our house. The roof fell on us. Our neighbors came and pulled us from under the rubble. Me, my wife, my daughters, my sons, and my wife's father.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered what he called forceful strikes, that after accusing Hamas of breaching the US-brokered ceasefire. Israel's defense minister said Hamas had crossed a bright red line by attacking Israeli soldiers in southern Gaza. An Israeli military spokesperson said the assault took place east of the Yellow Line, a zone under Israeli control within Gaza under the ceasefire deal. The military later confirmed that a reservist soldier was killed during the clash. Israeli media reported that his engineering unit was ambushed by gunmen who emerged from tunnels and fired rocket-propelled grenades in Rafah. Earlier, Netanyahu also accused Hamas of violating ceasefire terms related to the return of hostages' remains, saying the body handed over by Hamas belonged to a soldier killed in the October 7, 2023 attacks and not a missing hostage. Hamas denied involvement in the attack that killed the Israeli soldier, insisting it remains committed to the ceasefire. The group's armed wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, initially said it would hand over the body of a missing hostage found in a Gaza tunnel, but later postponed the exchange, accusing Israel of violating the truce with renewed strikes. US President Donald Trump said nothing would jeopardize the ceasefire, but added that Israel had the right to hit back when its soldiers were attacked.
No, nothing's going to jeopardize. You have to understand, Hamas is a very small part of peace in the Middle East, and they have to behave. They're on the rough side, but they said they would be good, and if they're good, they're going to be happy, and if they're not good, they're going to be terminated. Their lives will be terminated, and they understand that.
The latest escalation marked a major test for the Trump-brokered truce, which aimed to end 2 years of conflict and reopen dialogue between the two sides. The strikes came nearly 3 weeks after the US-backed ceasefire came into effect, halting 2 years of fighting sparked by Hamas-led attacks on Israel in October of 2023. Since then, both sides have traded accusations of violating the truce. The return of hostages and recovery of remains have become central sticking points in continued efforts to maintain the ceasefire as well. Renewed tensions have put the fragile ceasefire at risk. Both sides continue to trade accusations as uncertainty grows over the future of the truce. We will continue to keep a track on what happens next. And finally, on to some tech. Apple touched a new financial milestone, becoming the third major technology company in the world to reach a market value of $4 trillion. The company's shares rose slightly in early trading on Tuesday, touching a record high of around $269, driven by strong demand for its latest iPhone models. This marks the first time Apple has hit the $4 trillion mark, putting it alongside Microsoft and Nvidia in the league of the world's most valuable companies. The recent rise in Apple's stock price has been largely powered by the success of its iPhone 17 series, which was launched in September. Upon the launch of the latest iPhones, videos emerged from across the world showing customers' optimism over the series. Several Apple stores saw long lines, with some customers waiting since midnight to buy the new devices.
We woke up at 3 a.m. and came here to 4 a.m. It's already 3 hours, not that long. I thought that it will be more people here, but it's chill. It's I'm very impressed by this whole situation. I'm not from USA. I came here from Poland, so yeah, it's very cool, very cool.
Recent data shows that the iPhone 17 lineup has outsold the previous iPhone 16 range by around 14% during the first 10 days of sales in both the United States and China, two of Apple's biggest markets. One particular model, the ultra-slim iPhone Air, has drawn significant attention and is seen as Apple's response to growing competition from Samsung. The strong performance of these new devices has helped lift Apple's shares price by around 13% since their launch, reversing the company's earlier declines this year. Apple shares have risen around 6% over the span of a month. In the last 6 months alone, the stock has climbed more than 27%, adding roughly $1.4 trillion in market value since April. Another key factor behind this turnaround is that fears over US tariffs have eased. Earlier this year, investors were concerned that higher import duties on Apple products made outside of the United States could affect sales and profitability. But the company's gradual shift of its supply chain to countries like India and Vietnam has helped reduce that risk. Maintaining a cooperative relationship with US policymakers on domestic manufacturing has also played a role in calming investor sentiment. Analysts say Apple's strong iPhone sales in major markets have helped offset investor worries about its slower progress in artificial intelligence. While companies like Microsoft and Google have been aggressive in pushing AI tools and products, Apple's AI strategy has been more cautious. Its Apple Intelligence features, including ChatGPT integration, are being rolled out gradually, and the planned AI-powered upgrade to Siri has been postponed until next year. Reports of several senior AI executives moving to Meta have also added to these concerns. Meanwhile, Microsoft shares also rose this week, reaching a market value of just over $4 trillion as well. The company's stock gained after it announced the deal to restructure OpenAI, in which Microsoft holds a significant stake. However, Microsoft and Apple, which currently have a market cap of around $3.99 trillion, are both trailing behind Nvidia, which has a market capitalization of more than $4.6 trillion. For Apple, this moment highlights both its enduring strength in hardware and the challenges it faces in adapting to a technology landscape increasingly defined by artificial intelligence. The company has reached a major financial peak, but the question ahead is whether innovation and not just sales will sustain its position at the top. That is all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time, but until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.